When my mother was close to giving birth to me, she was kicked out of my father's house by her husband's family. After 5 years of hardship, she turned into a worn-out, haggard woman. But eventually, my father managed to take me away. After I died, I transmigrated back to the time when she was 3 months pregnant with me. My paternal grandmother offered $5 million to force my mother to leave my father, but my mother, putting love first, refused while crying. I was inside her belly, so anxious I wanted to kick my way out. "Mom, you don't need the man, but you absolutely must keep the money." My mother looked confused. "Who is talking?" I shouted inside her womb, "Mom, just listen to me. I will help you become a grand madam, crush that scum of a man so he can never rise again, and live a life of glory and wealth where no one can bully you." At that moment, my grandmother coldly placed a check for $5 million on the table and said, "I just need you to leave my son." She was clearly contemptuous, not seeing my mother as anything significant. My mother didn't want to take it because she and my father truly loved each other. In her eyes, love was sacred and couldn't be measured by money. Just as she was about to refuse, the familiar voice suddenly rang in her head. "Mom, you don't need the man, but you absolutely must not refuse the money." My mother was startled, raising her head to look around. The restaurant was silent. No one had spoken. My grandmother saw my mother's hesitation and impatiently asked, "Who do you choose in the end, the person or the money?" My mother blurted out, "I choose the money." My grandmother froze. My mother was also shocked by the words she had just said. At this moment, she opened her eyes wide and looked down at her belly, thinking, "That voice seems to come from there. Could it be the baby is talking?" Her expression instantly became very strange. Yesterday, she had a prenatal checkup and was told she was 3 months pregnant. Thinking this, my mother quickly found an excuse to rush to the restroom, bowed her head, and quietly asked, "Is that you?" I quickly replied, "Yes, it's me." "You can hear me, right, Mom?" My mother was stunned for a second and then asked, "You want to take the $5 million?" She started worrying. "But my love for your father cannot be measured by money." Her face was bathed in the light of love. I nearly rolled over from the glare and quickly said, "Mom, wake up! Even if he were a zombie, after eating his brain, you'd have to spit it right out. What kind of blind love is this?" I recalled the future. My father would come to steal me away, forcing my mother to leave me. My mother had loved him for 2 years, being humble and accommodating, never doubting him, and only blaming herself during arguments. If I hadn't intervened, she would definitely have left without a penny and endured the hardship of pregnancy, childbirth, and raising a child all by herself. She would live in poverty and hardship, gradually becoming a worn-out, exhausted woman. Then, 5 years later, she would coincidentally meet my father again. She thought they would live happily ever after, but little did she know that shortly. After she left, my father had followed his family's orders and married his fiancée. Later, my father had an accident, suffering a crucial injury, making him permanently infertile. Right at that moment, my mother appeared with me, a plump, fair-skinned child. My father saw me as if he had stumbled upon a treasure, grinning widely with joy, and immediately brought my mother and me home. But he no longer had any interest in the woman who had been ravaged by the years. After living together for a year, he grew cold and kicked my mother out, only keeping me. My mother, heartbroken and missing me, worried herself sick and overexerted herself, passing away young before she turned 40. Only after I died did I transmigrate back into her womb. Now the fetus is only 3 months old. There's still time to change everything. This time, I must ensure my mother lives well. A brilliant life where no one dares to bully her. I recounted in detail everything that would happen in the future. My mother's face grew graver with every word, and finally, she made a firm decision. "No one will take my child!" In the mirror, my mother's eyes shone with resolve. When she returned to the restaurant, she stated clearly, "As long as you give me the money, I will leave." My grandmother was slightly taken aback, not expecting my mother to change her mind so quickly, but then she became delighted. "Here is $5 million. You'd better keep your word." But my mother didn't take the check. She replied coldly, "Not enough. I want $10 million. My grandmother was furious. "Are you crazy?" My mother shrugged. "It's fine if you don't give it. Anyway, the wedding day is approaching. I wonder what would happen if I showed up at the wedding with a pregnant belly. Wow, Mom is truly cool." I was so excited that I was tumbling around inside her womb. My mother really stood up coldly, which stunned my grandmother. She was reluctant but had to sign another check and slammed it onto the table. "You truly are a money-grubbing woman." Hearing that, I was so angry that I cursed silently inside. My mother snapped back directly. So what if I love money? You call me money-grubbing, so what should I love? Love you? Or love your family's land? Or love your cheap-ass offer on some discount apps?" I added fuel to the fire inside my mother's belly. If men were trustworthy, a sow would climb a tree. If a woman isn't strong on her own, a man will climb onto her head and sit there. "Mom, let's go! In 7 months, I will help you become a rich woman so I can have a brilliant, carefree childhood." The next day, my mother moved out of the Lewis family's house very decisively, relocating to an apartment nearby. Previously, my mother lived very frugally, finding even plain buns dipped in water delicious. But now that she had me, she couldn't live like that anymore. First, she rented a house with a fresh environment and bought all sorts of supplements and supplies for pregnant women. But I still shook my head and said that for a woman, economic and intellectual independence were the most important. Only when she stands high enough does she have the right to speak. No one ever complains about having too much money. My mother was puzzled, a bit vague, so what should I do? Now my mother and I had a psychic connection. I could sense whatever she saw. I glanced at the 2 real estate flyers on the table. It was an abandoned rural land, over 500 square meters, only priced at $300,000. The location was remote and inconvenient, so no one wanted to buy it. The flyer was crumpled, passed through who knows how many hands, but I remembered very clearly. In just half a month, this place would be included in the city's construction plan. The entire village would be acquired and compensated at $60,000 per square meter. Just calculating roughly, that 500 square meter plot alone would be compensated $30 million. A massive profit. I was so excited I almost jumped for joy inside her belly. This would be the start of our career. The next day, my mother took me to that village to see the house. The owner was in a hurry to move out, and after only a few words, they agreed on the sale. Just as we were about to leave, the whole village heard that someone was buying land and rushed out to surround my mother. "Miss, are you buying any other houses? My house is also being sold cheaply. My family is also planning to move. Keeping it doesn't do any good." I was grinning so wide that I couldn't close my mouth. On that very day, at my urging, my mother continuously bought several more plots of land. Nearly half the village ended up in my mother's hands, draining almost $1 million. My mother rubbed her belly, her eyes gentle. "Are you satisfied now, my love?" I giggled back, extremely satisfied. Before long, my mother moved to live in the village, which was now almost empty. She hadn't been there for even half a month when the official compensation and demolition notice was posted everywhere. At this point, my mother was the largest landowner in the village, with the total area of properties under her name exceeding 3,000 square meters. Calculated at $60,000 per square meter, the compensation reached $180 million, literally becoming a millionaire overnight. My mother looked at the stack of contract papers in her hand, her mind blank. She joyfully rubbed her belly. "That's a lot of money. You truly are my lucky charm." "Of course!" I stood akimbo inside her belly, my face smug. After signing all the contracts, my mother took me home. But right in front of the door, we ran into someone who shouldn't have been there, Lisa, Andrew Lewis's fiancée. No, now she is his official wife. After my mother left, Andrew Lewis mourned for 3 days and immediately got married. Men, truly out of sight, out of mind. Ironically, the company responsible for the land acquisition this time was the Louis family's company. She stood arrogantly at the door, sneering at my mother. "I knew it! You left so quickly to prepare for this day. I don't know how you managed to buy so much land, but if you think doing this will get Andrew Lewis's attention, you're dreaming in broad daylight." My mother saw her, and a hint of regret for the old relationship with Andrew Louis appeared in her heart, but now that everything was over, it was all in the past. My mother originally intended to turn and leave, but Lisa grabbed her. Her gaze was fixed on my mother's belly. Even through the skin, I could feel the hatred. Lisa said, "Come with me to the hospital. This child absolutely must go, or I won't feel at ease." By now, my mother had completely given up on Andrew Lewis. Whatever Lisa said, my mother didn't care. But when she touched upon the baby in her belly, my mother's expression immediately changed. She flared up on the spot. "If you dare touch my child, I will risk my life against you." After saying that, a surge of unknown strength coursed through her. My mother lunged forward and delivered a resounding slap to Lisa's face. At that moment, I only had one question. Does a pregnant woman hitting someone count as gang violence? Everything happened in a flash. My mother had come from a poor background, worked hard, and thus had great arm strength. One slap sent Lisa tumbling to the ground, rolling several times. Lisa was stunned. She had encountered my mother several times before, always using her status as Andrew Lewis's fiancée to bully her. And my mother, who had been weak and gentle all her life, had never hit or cursed anyone. Yet, now my mother dared to strike her. Lisa shouted angrily, "How dare you hit me?" My mother said nothing, delivering another kick straight to her body, sending her flying away, and then said, "So what if I hit you? Do I need to pick an auspicious day first?" This time, Lisa fell harder. Her face was pale with anger and humiliation. She had never expected to be beaten so miserably by my mother one day. Staggering back up, she gritted her teeth and said, "Amy, you just wait! This isn't over!" With that, she turned and ran away. My mother angrily chased after her for a distance and only stopped when she saw Lisa get into a car and leave. My mother reached out to rub her belly, asking softly and worriedly, "My love, are you okay?" I was still dazed, Mom. "You're truly incredible. Are you a hidden martial arts master?" I quickly replied, "I'm fine." "I'm completely fine." My mother then said, "I feel like I was too aggressive." I replied, "Aggressive? No way!" That was so satisfying. From now on, if anyone dares to bully you, hit them hard. Hit them until they don't dare to look up at you again. Hearing me, my mother smiled brightly. Right at that moment, a black car slowly pulled up to the curb. The car door opened, and a middle-aged man in a suit with a calm demeanor stepped out and asked, "Are you Miss Amy? I have a big business deal, and I'd like to discuss with you." That person was Jason, the CEO of the Jason Group. In this land acquisition project, Jason was in direct competition with the Lewis family. But due to a capital shortage, Jason was being suppressed by the Lewis family in the bidding process. With no other choice, he proactively sought out my mother, because currently, my mother was the largest landowner in the acquired area. A client with a significant say in appointing the project contractor. CEO Jason spoke, his voice full of difficulty. "I know this might make things awkward for you, but if we don't win this project, my company won't survive. As long as you agree to help, I can accept any condition you propose. I can exchange it for 15% of the Jason Group's shares." Although Jason's business had been struggling in recent years, I knew very well their difficulties were only temporary. 4 years later, they would overcome this dark period and achieve spectacular success, becoming a well-known enterprise both domestically and internationally. By then, the value of Jason's shares would skyrocket. 15% alone would be worth billions. Although all of that was 4 years away, if my mother just agreed to let Jason win. This project, the timeline could be shortened to 2 years, maybe even 1 year. Moreover, I didn't want the Louis family to profit from this lucrative opportunity. I stared intensely at CEO Jason. In my eyes, he wasn't a person, but money. I was about to tell my mother to agree, but she had already nodded before I spoke. "Fine, I will cooperate with you." I was slightly surprised. I thought my mother would be soft-hearted, reluctant to act against the Louis family. But, unexpectedly, Lisa's words had awakened my mother. She realized that without being strong, she couldn't protect her child. In this world, no one is more important than her child. On that same day, my mother signed the cooperation agreement with CEO Jason. Although the Jason Group was not large at the moment, and 15% of the shares wasn't a huge amount of money, I knew the figure would multiply tenfold. After the signing, my mother took me to the relevant authorities to personally designate the Jason Group to undertake the land acquisition project. Nearly 85% of the land area in the acquired village was under my mother's name. With just one word from my mother, the Jason Group immediately became the top priority in the selection list. A week later, as expected, Jason officially won the project bid. That evening, CEO Jason invited my mother to attend the victory celebration party. During the party, guests were laughing and chatting, exchanging toasts. Someone approached with a glass, and my mother just smiled and refused. "Sorry, I'm pregnant." Everyone was stunned but maintained their politeness, no one daring to ask further questions. However, everyone recalled the recent rumors about the Louis family. It was said that after learning the bidding result, the Louis family was so furious that they boiled over. Andrew Lewis and Lisa even had a huge fight in front of their employees, seemingly completely estranged. My mother just sat aside, sipping milk, listening to the news leisurely, paying no mind. Soon after, everyone returned to the main topic. Winning this project truly requires thanking Ms. Amy. Without her, we would have struggled to compete with the Lewis family. In response to the praise, my mother calmly stated, after the land acquisition, "Project is complete. I also have several business plans I'd like to discuss with your company. This was already agreed upon by Mr. Jason and me. If both sides develop well in the future, the cooperation will become mutually beneficial." She then lightly added, "Furthermore, I also really enjoy striking a blow right into the heart of the Lewis family. The enemy of my enemy is my friend." CEO Jason looked at my mother with admiration. Ms. Amy is so young yet possesses such great resolve, daring to think and act. Truly remarkable. My mother smiled faintly. "Just earning a little money to buy milk for my child?" I lay silently in her belly, nearly exploding with laughter. Everyone knew that the milk money in my mother's mouth amounted to several hundred million, several office buildings. After I was born, wouldn't I also become the child of a wealthy family? The land acquisition work proceeded methodically and on schedule. My mother hired a private nutritionist to care for her health during pregnancy. Previously, my mother always lived in hardship. Her health wasn't good. But now, things were different. She had money and no worries. She used only the best. Lying inside her belly, I got a share of everything my mother ate. Life was truly better than ever before. That day, my mother and I had just returned from a therapy session and hadn't even reached the door when they saw a figure lingering near the gate. My mother suddenly stopped. Her disturbed mood also woke me up. "What's wrong, Mom?" I followed my mother's gaze. It was Andrew Lewis, my biological father. My voice rang out worriedly. "Mom, are you okay?" My mother maintained her composure, but a hint of sadness flickered in her eyes as she replied, "I'm fine. Let's walk around a bit more." My mother didn't want to meet Andrew Lewis, so as she was about to turn away, he quickly rushed over and called out, "Amy! Long time no see." He forced a smile, but his eyes were fixed on my mother's belly, which was now clearly showing. His gaze was unwavering, as if trying to confirm something. "What are you looking at? Haven't you ever seen a pregnant woman?" Sensing my emotions, my mother immediately leaned away from his gaze and asked, "Is there something you need?" Andrew Lewis hastily said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know you were pregnant. My mother said you took the money, so I thought—" My mother didn't reply, just stated coldly, "I heard you got married. Congratulations." Andrew Lewis was stunned. I was forced. My mother interrupted coldly. Was the wedding night also forced? Andrew Lewis was speechless, unable to utter another word. My mother took a deep breath and pressed her lips together. "You should leave. I don't want to see you." As soon as she finished speaking, my mother immediately turned to walk away. I instantly spoke up. "Mom, this is our home. Why should we be the ones leaving? If anyone needs to go, it should be the other person." Hearing me, my mother paused for a moment and then nodded. "You're right." Immediately after, she turned back and walked confidently toward her apartment. Andrew Lewis saw her turn back and thought she had changed her mind, his eyes lighting up. But before he could speak, my mother coldly said, "Move aside! You're blocking my doorway." Andrew Lewis's smile instantly froze. He turned to look at the building behind her, a luxurious apartment with a much grander presence than anything he had seen. His expression changed continuously, his eyes filled with suspicion as he asked, "This apartment? It's not cheap. Where did you get the money?" My mother sneered. "I earned it myself. Why? Is it not grand enough compared to your Lewis families?" That sentence was like a direct punch, making Andrew Lewis's face turn pale. I was inside her belly, unable to contain myself, flailing my arms and legs in excitement. So satisfying. "You did great, Mom!" After slamming the door shut, keeping Andrew Lewis outside, my mother let out a long sigh of relief. She tilted her head, gently stroked her belly, and mused, "My love, in your past life, after they took you away, were you okay living at the Louis family's house?" "Not okay at all. It was terrible. They brought me back only because Andrew Lewis couldn't have children anymore, and I was his only child. But their greed was too great. After having me, they started wishing the baby was a boy. I, in turn, didn't want to stay at the Lewis family's house and cried every day, demanding to find my mother. Thus, they disliked me even more. Once, I ran away and was caught. They beat me for half an hour. My skin was torn and bruised, the pain reaching my bones. From then on, beatings and scoldings became daily occurrences. Compared to living with my mother, I lived in hell. When I was 16, I heard that my mother had passed away. I wanted to attend her funeral, But the moment I opened my mouth, I was fiercely scolded and locked inside the house. My grandmother said she would arrange a marriage alliance for me in 2 years. I curled up under the blanket, crying and begging just to see my mother one last time. Perhaps God took pity on me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back here, inside my mother's womb. I had never spoken of these things before. Yet, as soon as I finished recounting them, a wave of sorrow and indignation surged. My mother, who had been slightly wavering after seeing Andrew Lewis, was now more determined than ever. She said, "All the suffering we endured, my child, I will get back every penny, every single moment in this life." On that very day, my mother immediately called CEO Jason, presenting a series of plans to counter the Lewis family. After listening, Mr. Jason was astonished. "Miss Amy, how do you know about the Lewis family's plans?" "I told her." I remember clearly all the major and minor domestic events, business opportunities, and market fluctuations. My mother just smiled mysteriously. A secret. "If you want to cooperate with me, don't ask too many questions." CEO Jason's expression immediately became serious again. "Understood. I promise not to disclose anything." Half a month later, in the urban planning project bidding, thanks to the information from me and my mother's strategy, Jason won again, leaving the Lewis family behind. Less than a week later, an international tournament began preparations. Jason secured the representation rights, further expanding their market share. In just 2 months, Jason achieved continuous success. The company's value soared, and its stock price more than doubled. Initially, my mother held 15% of the shares. Then, at my suggestion, she continued to purchase scattered shares on the market. Now, my mother held 20% of the shares, becoming a major shareholder, effectively doubling her assets. Since the acquired land compensation, my mother had gotten a taste for making money, so she continued to buy more real estate. With my knowledge, knowing exactly where prices were about to boom and where land would be acquired, she bought every property at the right time and price, all massive profits. My mother's assets increased by the minute. My mother patted her belly and told me, "I'll take you out to eat at your favorite restaurant." Today, thanks to a newly signed project, Jason had secured another huge commission. My mother and I planned a big celebration meal. Unexpectedly, just as we stepped out of the company headquarters, my grandmother suddenly lunged toward us. Her face was purple with anger. She pointed at my mother. "It's you! You're a wretched woman! Everything is your doing!" In contrast to Jason, who was thriving, the Lewis family continuously failed, losing many projects. The company fell into a severe crisis, lacking cash flow, and facing the risk of bankruptcy. Seeing my mother emerge from Jason's headquarters, my grandmother instantly went berserk, screaming, "You did it! You seduced my son, tricked him out of money, and then betrayed him. Today, I must teach you a lesson." With that, she raised her hand to strike. She thought my mother was still the weak, submissive woman she used to be, whom she could hit and curse at will. But before her hand could land, my mother blocked it. My mother's eyes glared, looking directly at her in anger. I chuckled to myself. Finally, it's her turn. In the previous life, my grandmother was the one who hit me the most. Light beatings every 3 days, heavy beatings every 5 days, constantly, using violence to force me to become a tool for a marriage alliance. Since hearing my recounting, my mother had been bottling up an immense, unquenched rage. She had intended to confront my grandmother herself, but unexpectedly the old woman came right to her door today. Without a word, my mother raised her hand and delivered a direct slap. Smack! The clear, resounding sound filled me with pure delight. I immediately chimed in. "Mom, she hurt me so much before." It hurt so much that I couldn't sleep every night. She never took me to the hospital because she was afraid. Others would know about the abuse. I still have scars on my body. Hearing this, my mother's anger flared even more. Without hesitation, smack, smack. 2 more fiery slaps. My grandmother shrieked, You dared to hit me?" She couldn't believe it, staring wide-eyed at the person who was once weak and timid, now striking without hesitation. She thought my mother was still the soft white dumpling easy to bully from back then, huh? I was laughing so hard. My mother looked at her with cold eyes, the flames of fury burning brightly at the bottom of her pupils. "These slaps, I'm returning them for my daughter." Before my grandmother could react, smack, smack. 2 more. My mother added, "And these, I'm returning them for myself." My grandmother was completely stunned, taking a few seconds to regain her composure. Seeing employees walking out of the company, she immediately changed her expression, wailing loudly, "Help! Someone is hitting this old woman. It was rush hour, and a crowd quickly gathered to see what was happening. She exaggerated her performance, pretending to be pathetic. Look, everyone, this wicked woman! She seduced my son, took his money, and betrayed his kindness. Now she dares to hit me, an old woman. Oh God, is there any justice left in the world? She lay sprawled on the ground, yelling and crying, trying to ruin my mother's reputation. But unfortunately, my mother had been frequenting the Jason Group headquarters lately, and many employees recognized her. Their relationship was also good. Hearing my grandmother, everyone looked at her with suspicion. How could Amy do such a thing? Exactly. This old woman shouldn't spout nonsense. It was clearly you who tried to strike first. Amy was just defending herself. Pfft! What a hateful old woman! How dare you slander our Amy? Get lost! The crowd quickly sided with my mother. Not a single person believed my grandmother. She cried until her face was red and purple, but no one cared. Her face kept turning from green to white, shaking with fury. My mother coldly ordered the security guard, escort her away. From now on, if you see anyone from the Lewis family approach, immediately throw them out. Don't let me see them again. If she dares to come back, I'll hit her again. The commotion outside Jason's gate was quickly filmed and posted online. In the comment section, netizens unanimously supported my mother, angrily cursing. The Lewis family. This family is truly morally corrupt, leading to chaos. With a mother like that, it's no wonder Andrew Lewis is good for nothing. Public opinion relentlessly attacked the Louis family, causing their reputation to plummet. Even their business deals began to be severely affected. That evening, CEO Jason personally called my mother and said, "I wasn't at the company today. I just got back and heard someone came to cause trouble. Are you all right?" Since my mother partnered with the Jason Group, her accurate interventions had repeatedly helped the company bounce back from the brink of bankruptcy. Now, Mr. Jason treated my mother like a living goddess. All he lacked was a shrine for her. The moment he heard someone dared to mess with my mother, he was furious, almost bursting a lung. What? They dared to bully my company's living Buddha? Unacceptable. Consider this a declaration of war against me. My mother remained calm. I'm fine. They can't do anything to me now. I'll tell the guards to immediately escort any Louis family members out if they see them. CEO Jason was still uneasy. I believe the Louis family definitely won't give up. How about I hire 2 more bodyguards for you, just to be safe? My mother was about to refuse, but she looked down at her belly for a moment, then agreed. All right, I really appreciate it. Time flew by, and the pregnancy entered its 7th month. My mother took me to the hospital for a routine checkup. Thanks to the careful attention of the nutritionist, I was growing healthy every day in her womb. On the way back, my mother's phone rang. It was a message. Andrew Lewis was in a traffic accident. I was just drifting off to sleep but woke up instantly. Oh my, it's happening. In the previous life, Andrew Lewis also had an accident around this time, drunk driving, crashing straight into a barrier. His other injuries were minor, but his crucial area was completely damaged. From then on, he couldn't have children anymore. The situation was similar this time. The only difference was that for some unknown reason, they quickly contacted my mother. The caller was my paternal grandfather. Speaking in a commanding tone, without any room for negotiation, Andrew Lewis has had an accident. Get to the hospital immediately. My mother didn't answer right away, but asked me first, in the past life, "Did your dad ever hit you?" I replied, "No, he never hit me, but when others hit me, he just stood and watched. Every time I begged for help, he pretended not to see." My grandfather was inherently cold and arrogant. His deep-seated belief in valuing males over females was in his blood. "I clearly remembered once when I was beaten unconscious," he coldly remarked. "She's not a son anyway. Just don't kill her. We'll still need her later." Hearing this, my mother's anger flared like a raging fire. She coldly spoke into the phone. "Not free. Don't want to. Don't care." My grandfather yelled loudly, "Andrew Lewis's accident is because of you. If it weren't for you, he wouldn't have been distracted while driving, and he wouldn't have hit the barrier. Get over here right now." His voice was getting louder, as if ordering a maid. I rolled my eyes in frustration and said, "Mom, don't listen to his nonsense. Andrew Lewis had the same accident in the last life. It has nothing to do with you. He just wants to use moral obligation to pressure you." My mother quietly nodded. "Don't worry, I don't have morals anymore." The phone on the other end was still screaming. My mother raised her voice. "Shut up. I'm in a good mood today, that's why I'm calling you uncle. If I were in a bad mood, calling you a bastard old man wouldn't be excessive. I know. Longer have any relationship with your son." Don't think I don't know what you're plotting. Now that Andrew Lewis can't have children, you suddenly remember the baby in my belly, right? That sentence hit the nail on the head. He was instantly silent. After a few seconds, he gritted his teeth and said, "That child is the Lewis family bloodline." "No, he's my child alone, Amy's child," my mother said, then decisively hung up. 2 months later, while my mother was expanding her international market cooperation with the Jason Group, Andrew Lewis unexpectedly sought her out in person. He had likely just been discharged from the hospital. His face was pale, his spirit was broken, and he looked pitiful as he said, "Amy, I've divorced Lisa." My mother was indifferent. "What does that have to do with me?" Andrew Lewis continued, "When I haven't been around, has the baby been good?" My mother was equally cold. "That doesn't concern you either." This world only had two things. 1, things that didn't concern him, and 2, things that absolutely didn't concern her. It seemed my mother had grasped this truth perfectly. Andrew Louis blinked, rubbed his eyes, and began to sob. "Amy, I know you're still angry with me, but the child can't be born without a father. He needs a complete, happy family." I heard that and wanted to jump out and punch him. "Happy? Your happy head. We were separated right after birth, and I was beaten and verbally abused every day. If that's happiness, I'd rather be a clipped-wing bird." My mother suddenly let out a small laugh. Pfft. Andrew Lewis thought he saw an opportunity, quickly pulled a ring from his pocket, and knelt down. "Amy, let's get married." My mother's smile instantly vanished. She stepped back as if he were something filthy and said, "Could you please stop saying such disgusting things?" But just then, my mother noticed the diamond ring in his hand. It looked somewhat familiar. Andrew Lewis smiled and said, "Remember? This is the ring you loved the most back then." He thought that by showing the ring, my mother would be moved and rush into his arms as she used to. But he didn't know the woman in front of him was no longer the foolish Amy of the past. My mother looked at the ring with detachment. "It's true, I did like it back then. I even dreamed of you buying it for me." Then my mother suddenly started counting. 1, 2, 3. She counted all the way to 10 and then continued. "Okay, I think that's long enough. I don't need this ring anymore. Today, I'll buy myself a ring. It's a reward I deserve." "You're the best, Mom." "Mom, I want to scream!" I was so excited I was practically doing somersaults in her womb. Now, Andrew Louis was completely frozen. He trembled and said, How did you become like this?" My mother raised an eyebrow and smiled faintly. "Become what? Independent? Strong? Or capable enough to scare you? What men fear most is the woman who no longer needs them." My mother decisively turned her back and walked away without looking back. Now, she had no interest in men, much less Andrew Lewis. The only thing she wanted was to make money. Seeing this, Andrew Louis suddenly knelt down with a thud and cried, "Amy! I swear, as long as you come back, I will definitely love you and the child well. I'll let the child live in a complete, happy family." That sentence immediately struck a nerve with my mother. She spun around, her hair practically standing on end with rage, and said, "You still dare to lie? Andrew Lewis, I'm telling you, I will always keep an eye on the Lewis family. I'll make you all pay." The fake tenderness on Andrew Lewis's face instantly disappeared, replaced by angry, resentful eyes. "If you don't accept me, no other man will want to be with you. How can a woman who doesn't marry survive?" My mother didn't turn back, spitting out words like a sharp knife. "I have money. I don't need a man." Money was my mother's greatest self-respect now. Back at home, I could still clearly hear Andrew Louis outside, screaming curses and kicking over several potted plants. I said, "Mom, I don't think he's going to stop." My mother rubbed her belly, gently but her eyes cold as ice. "If one person comes, I'll fight one person. If 2 come, I'll fight both. No one is going to take my child from me again." I also started to feel tense. But surprisingly, the Lewis family didn't show up again for several days. When the Jason Group secured another major project, CEO Jason proactively suggested, "Ms. Amy should go home, rest, and take care of your pregnancy. The company is stable now. You can relax and have your baby. I'll handle everything and wait for your return." My mother was planning to do the same. Her belly was getting bigger, and she was only a week away from her due date. This was an extremely sensitive time. No mistakes were allowed. So she agreed. "All right, I'll leave these projects to you. I'll see you in half a month." After a period of tireless work, my mother's total assets, including cash and real estate, were close to a 10% digit figure. Not only is there enough for my milk, but she could drink milk for the rest of her life and not run out. Rumor had it that Forbes was discreetly investigating my mother's assets, preparing to add her name to the list of tycoons. Amazing. My mother is a legend. That day, my mother and I left Jason's headquarters, intending to buy baby clothes, when suddenly a figure emerged abruptly from the restroom. After half a month of not seeing him, Andrew Lewis looked like a zombie. His hair was messy, his eyes were deeply sunken, his cheeks were hollow, and his entire body was emaciated, like a skeleton in a hoodie. He was hunched over, dragging his feet as if waiting to die. Stepping out of the dark corner, he stared intently at my mother, grinning with bared teeth. "Amy! This time, you can't escape!" My mother was horrified, turned to run, and opened her mouth to yell for help. Help! Before she could finish the word, Andrew Lewis lunged, clamping his hand tightly over her nose and mouth. A strong, foul odor rushed into my mother's nostrils. She immediately lost consciousness. Damn it! I knew he'd be back, but I didn't expect it to be now. Mom! Mom! I tried to call but got no response. Very quickly after that, I also lost consciousness. A while later, my mother's trembling voice whispered in my ear, "My love, are you all right?" I didn't know how long I'd been unconscious. I tried to open my eyes and replied, "Mom, I'm fine." Hearing this, my mother let out a sigh of relief and began to look around. It was a completely unfamiliar room, with old furniture and only a single bed in the middle. Clearly, Andrew Lewis had secretly planned this kidnapping beforehand. I asked, "Can you still contact the outside world?" My mother felt all over her body and shook her head in disappointment. My phone was taken, and even my watch is gone. Damn it! That watch was $200,000. He kidnaps me, but why steal my watch too? I was so angry that I was kicking and punching inside her belly, imagining myself performing a military martial arts routine into the air to vent. My mother rubbed her belly, patting it gently. "Don't be angry, my love. Don't be like that. I'm scared." Just then, the room door burst open, and Andrew Lewis walked in. My mother immediately composed herself, looked at him seriously, and asked, "Andrew Lewis, why did you bring me here?" This time, he didn't bother to pretend anymore. His tone was completely broken, no longer hiding his true nature. "I don't need you. I need this child." He stared intently at my mother's belly. His eyes were maniacal, full of obsession and possession. Inside the womb, I clearly felt that frenzy. "What are you looking at? Haven't you ever seen a baby before?" I was so angry I wanted to kick and burst the amniotic fluid. My mother saw my discomfort, immediately turned sideways to shield her belly, and coldly said, "Dream on." Andrew Louis instantly went mad, his voice screaming, his entire body shaking. "Amy! It's because of you! It's all because of you that I had the accident and ended up like this. This child. I must have. Just stay here obediently for now. After you give birth, I'll let you go." With that, he left and locked the door. I witnessed the whole scene from inside the womb and could only exclaim, "Mom, this man is insane!" My mother shook her head, her face expressionless. "Not insane. He's a pervert." After a moment's thought, my mother added, "And people who are castrated are often perverted." Now that I think about it, Mom might have a point. Understanding the current situation, my mother and I immediately made a plan. Given Jason's protective nature, the bodyguards would surely discover her disappearance soon. We just needed to hold out for a while, and they would find this place. The problem was that the due date was only a week away. Time was running out for my mother and me. My mother frowned and whispered, "My love, how about we negotiate a little? Can you try to wait another half a month before being born, okay?" I replied helplessly, "Do you think I'm a fairy? Why don't you just ask me to be born 3 years from now?" My mother laughed. "Then there's only one way left. To find an opportunity to escape." To get the baby, Andrew Lewis started caring diligently. He only appeared each day to bring food and then disappeared. But the main door was locked, and the windows were completely blocked. There was no way out. My mother and I secretly planned, just waiting for the right moment. One afternoon, as expected, Andrew Lewis brought food up. As soon as he walked in, my mother cried out in pain. "Ah! It hurts! My stomach! It hurts so much!" Andrew Lewis frowned, impatient. "Stop pretending. Get up now." My mother continued to writhe on the floor, holding her belly, her face pale. "Andrew Louis, I'm about to give birth. I'm really about to give birth." He was stunned. His face changed color, and then he instantly became deliriously happy. I'm about to be a father. Oh my God, I'm about to be a father. He screamed and turned to run out to find someone. I quietly counted down inside her belly. 3, 2, 1. Now! I shouted. My mother suddenly jumped up, holding the iron bar she had secretly removed from the bed frame over the past few days and slammed it down on the back of his neck. Thud! Andrew Louis collapsed onto the floor, unconscious. Seeing that no one else had noticed, my mother quickly dragged him into the room and locked the door tightly. Then, she gently, step by step, left the second floor. I quickly said, "Mom, be careful. There might be someone else here." Based on my intuition, I guessed that my grandmother cooked every meal. Andrew Louis didn't know how to cook, and the meals were clearly her handiwork. Descending the stairs, we indeed saw many belongings scattered in the hall downstairs, clearly not things one person could have prepared. My mother took careful steps, not daring to run fast for fear of affecting me. She quietly moved through the hallway, then across the large hall. In front was the open main door. My mother's eyes lit up. We were about to escape. Just as my mother and I were about to step out the door, a piercing scream rang out behind us. "Amy is running! Come here!" It was my grandmother. She must have been eating, heard the noise, and rushed out. The moment she saw my mother, she shrieked. My mother's heart skipped a beat. Without thinking, she darted out. My grandmother roared and chased after her. "Stop! Don't run!" My mother was in her final trimester. She couldn't run fast, her speed was very slow. Fortunately, my grandmother was also old and used to a comfortable life, so she couldn't run very fast either. After a while, my mother had gained a significant distance. The old woman still hadn't caught up. All that remained behind was the echoing sound of her cursing. "You wretched woman! Give me back my grandson! Stop right there!" My mother said nothing, just silently regulated her breathing, absolutely refusing to waste energy on useless things. It was dark now. The surrounding area was a desolate suburb, without a soul in sight. If we kept running like this, Andrew Louis might catch up before we could escape. Clearly, my grandmother thought so too, and her voice began to sound more arrogant. "Amy, you'd better not dream of escaping!" My mother gritted her teeth, clutching her belly tightly. "My love, I will definitely get you out of here." Then she continued to run forward, pouring all her strength into it. I was worried sick, only able to continuously cheer in my mind. "Keep going, Mom!" Keep going. Almost there. Just as she rounded a corner, 2 powerful beams of headlight suddenly shone upon her, piercing through the dense night, illuminating my mother. In that light, her slender figure was resilient and tall, like a warrior. A familiar voice called out, Miss Amy, are you all right?" It was the bodyguards and the police. My mother felt 1,000 pounds lift from her shoulders, nearly collapsing. Fortunately, the 2 bodyguards ran over and supported her. My grandmother behind them turned white upon seeing the police and spun around to run. But in less than half a minute, she was pinned to the ground by the police. My mother gasped for breath. "There are others! In the villa!" The police immediately spread out to search the vicinity. Sure enough, shortly after, my grandfather was caught secretly trying to escape, and Andrew Louis was still tied up in the room. All 3 were led out in handcuffs. The happy family was now reunited in the most bitter way possible. My mother saw the scene and suddenly felt her back no longer hurt, and her legs were no longer tired. Standing by the car, hands on her hips, she burst into laughter, I told. I'd make you pay, but I didn't expect you to hand yourselves over." But immediately after laughing, my mother suddenly froze. Something wasn't right. The 2 bodyguards panicked. "She's not well. She's about to give birth. Quick, take her to the hospital now." The entire group rushed to the hospital. Everything had been prepared in advance. The delivery room, doctors, and nurses were all ready. As my mother was being wheeled to the delivery room door, she suddenly grabbed a bodyguard's arm. "Has the Forbes ranking been announced? I think it's today." The bodyguard was stunned and asked, "You're about to give birth and you're still thinking about that?" My mother was serious. "My child said she wants to see me become the richest person. That's her wish." Hearing this, the bodyguard said no more and immediately ran out. A moment later, he returned, holding up his phone. "It's out. The new ranking is announced. Number 1 is Amy." My mother smiled contentedly. "My love, did you hear that?" "I heard it. I heard it clearly, Mom." I was overjoyed. Fireworks and celebration drums going off in my head. The voices of the doctors and nurses continued to ring out. The machines beeped. I closed my eyes with a sense of peace. It was time. for me to be born again. Right at that crucial moment, an unfamiliar voice echoed in my mind. Has your wish been fulfilled? Who is that? I startled and opened my eyes. The surroundings were pitch black. All the previous noise had vanished. Only a deep, resonant voice remained in the void. I am the void. I am everything. And I was once called God. I trembled and asked, Did you bring me back to the past? The voice spoke again. Yes. I heard your cries. It was the time. My mother passed away, and I hid in the room, crying like an abandoned child. I asked, Am I the only one you've helped? The voice replied, No, you are the first. I asked again, Why? Don't you help more people? The voice was silent for a moment, then calmly replied, I have heard too many cries and prayers, but none have ever come true. Life is too painful, full of regret, hatred, and unfulfilled desires. If time could be reversed, perhaps many tragedies could be avoided. The voice gradually fell silent. After a long pause, it finally spoke again, gently but profoundly. Alice, are you willing to become my ears? To listen to those cries, return to the past, and change the future? I almost didn't need to think, immediately nodding and saying emotionally, I am willing. The voice replied, Very well, I am about to fall asleep again. Good luck. The voice grew fainter, as if withdrawing from consciousness. I suddenly remembered something and quickly shouted, Wait! I haven't told you that my wish has been fulfilled. Thank you! In the dead of night, a soft chuckle echoed, and then slowly dissolved. Immediately after, the sounds of doctors and nurses rushed back to my ears. The machines beeped, hurried footsteps, my mother's voice calling me tremblingly. A flash of white light appeared before my eyes. I saw that familiar face again. Mom! We meet again. It felt so good. A gentle wave of sleepiness washed over me. I quietly closed my eyes, falling into a state of semi-consciousness. In that hazy moment, I suddenly remembered the god's last words. I wonder if those words were true? Wait a minute. I think I hear someone crying. Don't cry anymore. I'll be there to help you now.